Okay, morning everybody. Okay, I apologize for that. We had some microphone issues. But let's get started here. All right, Janet Yellen came out and said that more central bank assistance is needed in the form of continued asset purchasing, and the word she used was for some time. So I think speculators are going to try and figure out what some time means as to how aggressively they buy this, but they definitely bought yesterday up 14.72 points on the S&P and up a little bit this morning as well. Despite the fact that Europe sold off into the close yesterday. But they're going to be focusing on labour markets with ADP coming in on Thursday and non-farm payrolls on Friday, so some big data coming out of the States at the end of the week. In Asia this morning, Hang Seng up almost 1%, Shanghai up 0.5%, Aussie down a little bit and Nikkei down a little bit. Shanghai gained after factory activity rose for the month, while Japan was flat after a choppy trade session following disappointing economic reports. No corporate action today. Coming out today, we had Chinese manufacturing and HSBC China manufacturing, both more or less in line. The China manufacturing a little bit higher and the HSBC one slightly lower. Then we've got manufacturing PMI out of Spain, Italy and France this morning, German unemployment change and manufacturing, and then at 10 o'clock we have Eurozone manufacturing PMI, 10:30 market UK PMI manufacturing, and 11 o'clock unemployment rate out of the Eurozone. The Kagiso manufacturing PMI out of SA at 11, and then out of the US later we have manufacturing PMI at 3:45, and at 4 o'clock ISM manufacturing. All right, let's hop into the charts quickly. I wanted to start off with the S&P. S&P is forming a nice tidy range here between 1840 and 1880, sort of heading towards 1880 at the moment. We watch that level. If we pop out of that level, then there could easily be a quick 40 points to the upside, taking it to 1920. At the moment, it doesn't feel like anything can worry the S&P, so I would say that is probably the likely scenario out of the two. Then let's have a quick look at SA Banks. SA Banks have had an incredible run recently. If we look at FirstRand popped out of this sort of broadening formation, I would call it, recently, which shows quite a remarkable higher target in the medium term for FirstRand, or in the maybe even the longer term. But currently, I would say the levels to watch: 35.5 is quite an important level. 36 is sort of horizontal support, holding on at the moment. I think the longer it stays above 35.5, or between 35.5 and 36, and builds, then I would say then the odds of the pop higher are quite high. If it gets below 35.5 again, then it's possible that then there'll be a possibility of some more downside in some downside in FirstRand. If we have a look at Nedbank did an incredible job yesterday of making most of its dividend back. Ended up at 224. Very strong day right at the close, and Nedbank after struggling for most of the morning and early afternoon. Same thing with Nedbank, sort of the last 4 sessions staying between 220 and 225. The longer it stays there, the more the odds are increased of it moving higher. Currently a little bit overdone in my opinion, but we'll continue to watch it between those levels. A drop below 220 could see it come and test a recent sort of breakout around 216. Otherwise, move above 225 could send it into new uncharted territories. And the last bank I want to have a look at is Standard Bank. Standard Bank made a new all-time intraday high, 143, closed sort of at the low, well, towards the lows of the day, around I think it was 138.75. It closed somewhere in that region. Still, one of the longer-term outperformers in my opinion. we've shown this chart many times, but that big multi-year breakout at 120 was quite significant, showing a much higher target. It may have reached a short-term target for now around 140. That is a bit of a bearish candle, but I'd say a pullback towards the 130 level would definitely be an interesting buying point. Then I wanted to have a quick look at Anglos. Anglos has been forming this bit of a broadening formation over here. It's popped out to the top of that. Another one, I mean, I wouldn't say it's all that convincing at the moment, but if you are an Anglos trader and you enjoy trading this one, then I would say that the odds favour further upside in Anglos as it pops out of the top of that broadening formation. And let's have a quick look at Anglo Gold. Anglo Gold as well, it broke below this 186 level as we've been showing on Twitter quite a bit. Went up to test that level and failed. Yesterday it failed, closed around 182. I see it's a little bit lower it had it down 2.6% in the US and closed around 180, the Rand equivalent price. A breakdown of this from this formation could target a level around 163, 164, which coincides with quite a lot of support. So if we do get further downside and in Anglo Gold, then watch that level for the next possible entry for profit taking on if you're short, and maybe a long if you are looking to buy this one. And the last one I wanted to show was Impalas. Actually, I'll show two more. Impalas, I know Joe's been showing this one over the last few weeks. Has been spending a lot of time in this sort of triangle, wanting to try and break out. Yesterday, it managed to close, I think, at 120 exactly. I think if we can get a good positive candle above sort of 120 and a half, 121, and it can stay above there, then that could mark the next move higher on Impalas. It's really struggled. It's been a big seller. As soon as it pops its head above 120, the guy hits it. So if we see that seller disappear and we can see some continued bidding above 120 and a half, 121 level, then I would say it might be safe to come out in Impalas for the next leg higher. And then the last one to show was Supergroup. This one's also been stuck in a bit of an ascending triangle with horizontal resistance at 28.54. It closed at around 28.78. With quite a convincing close higher than that. If it can hold this level in the next day or two, there could be about 2 Rand 50 to the upside, which would send it closer to around 31 Rand. And that's all for today, guys. Good luck trading.